The crystalline halls of the Galactic Senate had witnessed the submission of over 10,000 species across the galaxy. Each delegation that approached the towering podium had done so with trembling appendages, offering tribute and begging for mercy. The Zephyrians had surrendered their mineral wealth. The Vorthon Empire had dissolved their military in exchange for survival. Even the proud Kythera had knelt before the Senate's overwhelming might. But today was different. Admiral Sarah Chen stepped through the massive doorway, her combat boots echoing against the polished floor with deliberate precision. Behind her marched 12 representatives of Earth's finest, military commanders, scientists, engineers, and diplomats who had volunteered for what most considered a suicide mission. They wore no ceremonial robes or symbols of submission. Instead, they were clad in sleek black uniforms bearing the simple insignia of United Earth. The Senate chamber fell silent. Thousands of alien eyes, sensors, and optical organs focused on the human delegation as they approached the speaking platform. Senator Velthari of the Hegemony Council leaned forward in his floating chair, his tentacles writhing with amusement. "So," Velthari's voice boomed through the chamber's translation matrix, "the primitives from the third planet finally arrive. Have you come to surrender your world and accept integration into our glorious empire?" Admiral Chen stopped at the podium and looked up at the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. Her gray eyes were steady, unflinching. When she spoke, her voice carried to every corner of the vast chamber. "No." The single word hung in the air like a challenge. Whispers erupted from the alien galleries. Several senators clicked, chirped, or buzzed in what the translation matrix interpreted as laughter. Senator Korthak of the Silicon Hegemony raised one of his crystalline appendages. "Perhaps the human does not understand. Your species has been selected for absorption. Your technology will be cataloged, your resources harvested, your people relocated to designated sectors. This is not a negotiation." "You're right," Chen replied, her lips curving into a cold smile. "This isn't a negotiation. It's a declaration." Behind her, Dr. Marcus Webb stepped forward, carrying a small device that he placed on the podium. The holographic display that materialized showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with hundreds of red dots scattered across spiral arms. "3 months ago," Chen continued, "you sent your integration fleets to 17 human colonies. You expected us to panic, to beg, to submit like all the others." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled aliens. "Instead, you discovered that humans had been preparing for this moment for decades." The hologram zoomed in on one of the red dots, showing a massive space battle. Sleek human vessels, smaller than the alien dreadnoughts, but faster and more maneuverable, swarmed around the invading fleet like angry hornets. Brilliant flashes of weapons fire lit up the darkness as human ships used tactics no other species had ever employed, ramming attacks, coordinated suicide runs, and weapons that seemed to bend the very laws of physics. The Battle of New Shanghai lasted 18 hours, Webb announced, his voice clinical. "Your invincible hegemony fleet was completely destroyed. No survivors." Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the chamber. Senator Velthari's tentacles had stopped moving entirely. The display shifted to another battle, then another. Each engagement showed the same pattern. Human forces outnumbered, but not outfought, using guerrilla tactics, superior coordination, and a disturbing willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. "Impossible!" hissed Senator Korthak. "No species has ever—" No species has ever been human, Chen interrupted. You've conquered civilizations that had known peace for millennia, species that had forgotten war, that had grown soft under the protection of advanced technology. But humans? She laughed, a sound devoid of humor. We've been fighting each other for 10,000 years. We've perfected the art of warfare, while you've perfected the art of submission. The hologram now showed Earth itself, but not the primitive world the Senate had expected. Massive orbital platforms bristled with weapons. The planet's surface was covered with defensive installations. The space around Earth swarmed with thousands of ships, not just military vessels, but converted civilian craft armed with improvised weapons. Every human on Earth is a potential soldier, announced Colonel James Harrison, stepping forward. Our children learn tactics alongside mathematics. Our poets write verses about glorious death in battle. Our engineers design weapons in their spare time. His scarred face was grim. You thought you were absorbing a primitive world. Instead, you've awakened a species that considers peace to be merely preparation for the next war. The Senate chamber erupted in chaos. Senators rose from their seats, appendages waving, voices raised in protest and fear. Some called for immediate action, others demanded retreat. The translation matrix struggled to keep up with the cacophony of alien languages. Senator Velthari finally restored order, his voice cutting through the noise. You speak boldly for such a small species. The Galactic Senate commands fleets that could reduce your world to ash. Admiral Chen's smile widened. You could try, but ask yourself this. If a few thousand humans with outdated equipment could destroy your integration fleets, what do you think 50 billion humans with nothing left to lose could do to your empire? She gestured to the hologram, which now displayed new data. Production figures, population counts, technological specifications. The numbers were staggering. Earth produces more ships in a month than most of your member worlds build in a year. Our factories run 24 hours a day. Our research facilities are developing weapons you can't imagine. And unlike your civilized species, we don't surrender. We adapt, we learn, we overcome. Chen's voice dropped to a whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the chamber. We are the nightmare your ancestors forgot to fear. Dr. Webb activated another display, showing a detailed breakdown of human military doctrine. Humans employ what we call total war. We don't distinguish between military and civilian targets. We don't honor surrender. We don't take prisoners unless they're useful. When humans go to war, entire civilizations disappear. The silence that followed was absolute. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Senate faced not supplication, but defiance. Not fear, but fury. Admiral Chen reached into her uniform and withdrew a small data pad. This contains our counterproposal. You have 72 hours to withdraw all Senate forces from human space and formally recognize Earth's sovereignty. In exchange, we'll limit our expansion to our current borders and won't actively hunt down your fleets. Senator Korthak's crystalline form sparkled with outrage. And if we refuse? Chen's eyes glittered with promise of violence. Then you'll discover why humans are the only species in the galaxy that has words for total war, scorched earth, and Pyrrhic victory. We'll burn your empire to the ground, even if it takes us 1,000 years. She turned and began walking toward the exit, her delegation falling in behind her. Their footsteps echoed in the stunned silence like a drumbeat. Of war! Think carefully! Chen called over her shoulder. The Galactic Senate didn't expect resistance, but humans have always been ready for war. The crystalline doors closed behind them, leaving the most powerful legislative body in the galaxy to contemplate a terrifying new reality. They had awakened, something that should have remained sleeping, and now they would learn why humans had conquered their own world long before reaching for the stars.